All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship. You ever have those moments in life where you're making 10 grand a month after tax and just wondering where your money went? If you haven't had that experience, believe it or not, there are a good number of people who email me that they're broke and they make a lot of money because let's face it, if you're making 10 grand a month after tax, um, that ain't the norm, right? But if you ever want to experience what it's kind of like to be making 10 grand a month after tax, and feel broke, well, this video's for you, right? Okay, so basically, what we're going to do here is learn how to pay off these debts. As someone who makes about $123,000 a year gross, so that's about 10 grand a month net. I looked it up in the online calculator in Georgia for after tax, and I just thought of a situation where you'd be really broke. So maybe one, two, three, four, five, six, seven credit cards, right? Seven credit cards, maybe two student loans, two auto loans, a $300,000 mortgage, and then $2,500 in general expenses. Now, I realize this could be variable, right? This could be like or $200,000 student loan for a legal or medical degree, and it might be unusual to make. Well, I don't know if it'd be unusual because you could go to one of those programming boot camps and maybe get one of these salaries. I don't know, but if you make this much money and you only got about $300 left over, you're going to be sweating, right? So we're going to figure out how to pay off all this debt, especially with the $164,000 credit card debt, right? We're going to learn how to pay this off. We sum it up, it's $164,000 using Velocity Banking. And what is Velocity Banking? All it is a strategy to quickly pay off debts using lines of credit as your main tool. And we always assume two things, right? We always assume same income, zero savings. And a lot of people would freak out. Oh my goodness, you only have $300 in savings. How can you go from 300 to zero? Because we're going to use our line of credit as our main operating account. Okay. And then what we're going to do is now calculate the expenses. We're going to re-engineer some of our expenses, right? And so we did step one, which is our budget. Step two is we're going to select our line of credit as our main operating account. Again, I probably need to make a video about all the lines of credit that I have because I have $258,000 in lines of credit. And I think I'm going to take a pause. Probably by the end of the year, I'm going to refinance my HELOC and see how much I can get. But right now, my home equity line of credit is about 50 something thousand dollars, so right at that $50,000 mark, right? So let's assume this person's a homeowner, but they bought right before, I don't know, we'll say this is like 2019 and now it's like 2020 or something like that. And then that $300,000 home like magically went to $500,000. Possible for a lot of people, especially if you bought for before 2019, right? So what we're going to do is assume we have something called equity. All equity is your home value minus the debts encumbered to your home or tied to your home. We'll just say we have access to, I don't know, $200,000 of a home equity line of credit. And so let's go ahead and erase this. This is from a previous demonstration. So we'll say we have a $200,000 balance, right? Or available balance. So think of this as like a credit card tied to the value of your home. But the cool thing is you could pay anything. Can you pay anything with a credit card? No, you cannot, right? But with the home equity line of credit or personal line of credit, you can, right? So let's just do this, right? So instead of having all of these credit cards, seven credit cards, different credit card payments, where you're just basically paying the minimums, right? When you're at this level of broke and you apply maybe this $300 into maybe one of the credit cards, it could help, right? It's not gonna hurt, like necessarily hurt you, but you know, a lot of people feel like they gotta have savings. They gotta have savings. But let's just do this. Let's move some of this debt or all of this credit card debt to that line of credit. So this will be 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. And then how much credit card debt do we have? $164,000. Okay. Maybe we splurge. I don't know. Maybe we're reckless. How do we make 10 grand a month? 10 grand a month and be broke, but it's possible because I get emails like this time to time. All right. So now what we're going to do is calculate our cash flow, which is five. So look at this. Oh my goodness, we went from $300 to 5 grand as our cash flow. Mind blown, right? And so the strategy is paycheck into line of credit, expenses out, right? Paycheck into line of credit, expenses out. So when we put our entire paycheck into line of credit, it does two things. Satisfies the minimum monthly payment, right? Satisfies the minimum monthly payment, and you minimize the interest because it's calculated by the average daily balance. So when you put your entire thing in and you take your expenses out or possibly delay the interest by using credit cards up to a certain point, right? Not over your budget, then you'll win with the strategy. Okay, so now let's go ahead and calculate the next month, right? And then so what we're going to do is calculate the next month, which is previous month's balance plus previous month's interest minus this big $5,000 cash flow. So how do we go from, oh my goodness, $300 left over to 5,000? I don't even know. Maybe I'm just pulling a magic trick here out of my BUTT. I don't know. All right, so now what we're going to do is calculate the interest. And the way that to calculate the interest is by the average daily balance. So what we could do to estimate that is just take the average function here. And let's take a look here. What does it say? Average is $161,000. But luckily you multiply it by the interest rate, which is 0.1, and then you divide it by 12, right? So yes, we do have to pay interest, but this is $164,000 of credit card debt, right? It's an insane amount of credit card debt. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep copy and pasting until this is pretty much paid off up to all the way to 0, right? So once we see a big red number right here, that's how long it takes us to pay off this credit card debt, which is 38 months, right? So now we have this milestone here, 38 months of 164K of debt. Oh my goodness, right? And look, it was so easy. I didn't even have to think about it, right? And how much is 38 months? 38 divided by 12, a little bit over 3 years, right? So if you ever been in credit card debt more than $100,000, which I don't think most people are in that situation, are they? I don't know. I have $258,000 of lines of credit. So, but I've never used up to. Actually, I did use up to $100,000 lines of the line of credit. So I gotta wonder. Okay, no worries. Anyways, so let's go back here. Now we paid that off. Now we got to figure out which ones we're going to pay off here. Student loan, auto loan. Um, Figure out the balances, pay off one loan at a time. This one's a little bit tricky, especially when you're dealing with low, let's say, lower interest rates, right? Now, here's the thing. If this were a 10% line of, or a 5% home equity line of credit, I've heard those are that actually exist. I don't know for sure because I just heard this secondhand, and maybe it's because if it's first position, it might be much lower. I have no idea. But I heard there are 5% lines of credit. So if the line of credit is 5%, and I have these loans that are around 4 or 5%, I might just move the thing to the line of credit, right? Free up that cash flow. I don't know yet, but let's just go ahead and calculate the statement balances. Calculate the statement balances after 38 months, right? So what we do is just go to calculator.net, loan amortization, and just go ahead and calculate it from there, right? Let's go ahead and calculate this. And then this is going to be 15,000 at 5% for 10 years. Okay, and then now we're going to look for month 30. Month 30 is going to be about 11 grand, right? So actually not month 30, 38. So 38, yeah, about 11 grand. Okay. And then month 2, so I'm sorry, not month 2, student loan 2, 32,000, 32,000 at how many years? 38 months at 4.5%. So let's look for that number. So about 23 grand, 23 grand. All right. So now let's go ahead and open this up, make this clear to watch, and then how much is paid off of auto loan? So 22, 4%. So maybe we got two cars. We're living it up. 22,000, 5 years, 4% at month 38, which is okay. So 38. All right. So now 20,000 at 3%. At month 38, 7 grand, right? Because it's only a 5-year loan for auto loan. Okay. So let's go ahead and then what we're going to do, so there's two ways to actually figure this out. We always leave the mortgage for last, but there's two ways to figure this out, what debt to pay off first. You look for debts that fit this criteria, or you do cash flow index. So it's a formula that tells you, kind of like a ranking system, which debts to pay off. Now, here's the thing. If I have a whole bunch of debts, right? So I have maybe 4 debts, and I have a hard time figuring which one has the lowest balance, highest interest rate, and highest payment. I'm just going to resort to the cash flow index formula. It's a lot easier for me, right? Cash flow index just ignores the interest rate, and all it is the balance. So 11,031.63 divided by the payment, 159.1, right? And then we just keep doing that. So let's just keep going. All right, so, okay. So balance is 23,373.67 divided by 331.64. Okay, we just do this with the auto loan. So 8580.83 divided by 405.16. And then this one is 76883.4 divided by 359.37. Now, why would we pay off these two? Well, so think of this as a ranking system. So you pay the lowest ones first, and anything below 50 is quote considered to be inefficient. If you look up the explanation on the cash flow index system, so we're going to recover $700 if we pay off these two loans immediately, right? Whereas anything above 50 is considered to be quote inefficient. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's pay these two off and move it to the home equity line of credit. And it's kind of weird because it's like these two are the lowest interest of them all, but we get more cash flow when they're paid off, right? So let's go ahead and just add this up. So 8580.83 plus 7683.4. So it'll be 16264.23. So let's go ahead and move that here. So, okay. So now this is going to be plus 16264.23. Okay. So now that these two are paid off, so this is going to be 0 and then this is going to be 0. Oh my goodness. All right. So now our cash flow is 5827.01, right? So 5827.01, and then we just go back here, 5827.01. Okay. Oh my goodness, that car loan, those two car loans were pretty much paid off in like 2 months. Mind blown. So another milestone here. Okay, so 41 months. All right. So 41 months to pay off. Actually, it's not this one. 41 months. So 164 plus 22 is 186 plus 20 it should be 206K. And let me actually just confirm 164 plus 22 plus 20. Yeah, $206,000. So we paid these off in about 41 months. Amazing. Okay. And so now Now we gotta, I guess, focus on the student loan. And so at 41 months, we gotta figure out what the balance is. And you know what? We have so much cash flow. I honestly don't know if it'll really matter. Like usually the amount of cash flow that you have compared to the loan amount makes a huge difference and not the interest rate, right? So we have to take that into consideration. So even if the cash flow index is, let's say, not that high, if we can easily pay this off easily, then we might just move these into the line of credit. But let's just go ahead and figure out what the balance of these two student loans are at 41 months. All right, so now let's go ahead. 15000. No, is it 1500? No, 15,000. 5%. 5%. And it'll be a 10-year loan, and we'll look for month 41. Okay, month 41, which is about 10 grand, right? So now 10 grand. And then student loan 2 is going to be 32 at 4.5. 32,000, 4.5. Okay, and that's going to be, we're going to look for month 41, right? Month 41. So 22. Okay, so now let's recalculate that cash flow index again. So 10,0690.82 divided by 159.1, and then this one is going to be 22638.95 divided by 331.64, right? So basically, it's saying that the you get more cash flow for paying off this one first than this one, which okay, that makes sense. 15,000 for, I'm sorry, 10,000 for $159. Um, so yeah, let's just get rid of it, right? So we'll put 10 grand, 10 grand here, and then we should probably get rid of it in like 2 months or something. Okay, so now we're gonna put 10 grand here, and actually let's just put both. Maybe we're just sick of, because here's, take a look at this, right? Just takes 2 months to pay that off. All right, so let's just get rid of both. We don't have to make it super overcomplicated. So 10 grand plus 22 grand into, and sometimes, you know, you may want to do this just because even if it costs you a little bit more interest for a little bit peace of mind, so that you could park your paycheck into one place. I know it sounds kind of weird, right? But let's go ahead and figure out what our new cash flow is now. So this is going to be 0, 0. And then now let's take a look at what our new cash, 6317.75. Mind blown. How do we go from 300 to 6,000? My goodness. This must be a cheat code in real life. All right. So now let's go ahead and put our new cash flow in there, right? And then as you can see here, in month 46, I mean, $3 left, right? Well, you could say it's 46 for 7. We'll just say 47 just to be a little bit, I say, you know, cautious. You know, best case or worst case scenario, we'll say 47, month 47. So 47 months, let's see, 47 months, and then it's going to be 15, so 37K. So 206 plus 37K, I think is 243K. 243K. Okay. So now we paid off $243,000 of debt. Oh my goodness. And let me just confirm. So 206 plus 15 plus 32. Oh, is it 253? All right, so 253. 53. All right. So how much is 47 months? And as you can see, the first debts take the highest amount of time to pay, and then it just becomes this snowball effect, especially if you have all this income. So 47 divided by 12, that's about, did I screw up? Why does, oh, I did 23. Yeah, I did screw up, not 12. So about 4 years to pay off all this debt. And guess what? The last thing that we have is that mortgage, right? So now we got to figure out 47 months, what's the value of this mortgage? And let's say, I always like to buy $200,000 homes for $300,000. I always talk about get a discount, but let's say we got a $300,000 home that greatly appreciated to $500,000, right? Sometimes it's just timing in the market where if you just buy a property at the right time, you get a great deal. And you can even buy it retail, right? But if you're a real estate investor, you got to buy properties at a discount to today's value, which is always much harder than someone who got lucky at the market or by timing the market. Okay, so now we're at 47 months. Now we got to figure out what the balance of this at 47 months is. So $278,000. Okay, so not bad, right? But even at 4%, take a look at this. 4%, you pay an insane amount of interest for this $300,000 loan, right? I don't know about you, but you want to pay, what is this, like 75%? I don't know. I'm not going to calculate it, but even 3% is a lot. 3% is like 50% interest if you pay it, right? So yeah, 58%, no, 42% interest. Ooh, this is a nice graph. Okay, so now let's go ahead and usually with mortgages, I always just like to use a velocity banking calculator. And I got this from Renatus, and this is where I first learned velocity banking from. And they created this cool calculator here where I could just like type in stuff, right? And full disclosure, I'm what they call an independent contracted marketer, meaning I sell their education for a commission. All right, so let's go ahead and input their information. So $300,000 mortgage, 300,000. What's my current balance? It's going to be 278,046.1. So let's go ahead and do that. Interest rate is 4%, 30 years, and it's going to be a payment of 1432.25. 1432.25. And 10%, what's our monthly income? It's about 10,250. 10,250, right? Living expenses is everything except the debt you're trying to pay off. So everything except for this one. So we'll say 2,500. Okay. And then this chunk amount is basically how much you're moving from the principal to the line of credit. And so we'll just play around with this number, right? But you definitely do not want to move the whole thing into that line of credit. And let me show you why, right? So let's say I move this, let's say I just move, let's say $10,000, or we'll say $11,000 to that principal, right? From to the line of credit. 3.3 years it takes to pay off, right? But let's say we put this entire thing into a line of credit, 278,046.1. It's more interest and it takes us longer, right? Just a little bit longer, but you've essentially doubled the interest, right? So just put an amount that's just near reasonable to the paycheck and just rinse and repeat over and over again, right? But now as you can see here, this is going to take 3.3 years. 3.3 years. So now what we're going to do is just calculate 3.3 plus 47 divided by 12. And that's going to take us 7.2 years to be debt free. Ooh, and I think we need a debt free screen. I don't know. You guys watch the Ramsey show, debt free screen. And how much debt did we pay off? So let's go ahead and add this all up. So this is $164,000 of credit card debt. Actually, so 253 plus 300. So that would be almost $500,000 of debt. Half a million, like $500,000. Oh my goodness, or a little bit more than $500,000. in 7 years, and we were this broke paycheck to paycheck high income earner, right? If you ever want to feel like live vicariously, just do through this spreadsheet. Live vicariously through the high income broke person, right? And here's the thing, if you're not making that much money, prepare your mind for it, right? Like learn about velocity banking because I learned velocity banking when I was making 20 grand a year. And then I was like, this is so useless. And then 3 years later, I paid off 25% of my mortgage, right? So don't, sometimes, and I'll say this in many other videos, it's best to learn how to drive the car before you actually get in the car, right? Too many people, they learn how to drive the car after they crash it, meaning they make that good money, kind of like a lottery winner, and think, where did my money go? Right? So this is the difference between average American and velocity banking. Average American uses their checking account to pay for things. And if they have too many payments, everything's just a minimum payment essentially, right? Your loans are essentially forced minimum payments because if you overpay a loan, you can't get that money back, which is why we use the line of credit to essentially overpay the loan, but make sure that we're able to have control of our money, right? That's the most important thing. But let's take a look here. So let me just put a big fat zero here. Oh my goodness, $7,750 every month into our savings now. Now we have true savings and we could put it into one of those high yield savings account or maybe government bonds without doing anything if we really want to grow our money, right? It's plenty more than enough to grow our money in low risk whatever. All right, well, this is Korean Atlanta Mentorship. So hopefully you learned in this video how to vicariously live through a high income broke person. And if you are a high income broke person, then you know what to do. Not in your personal situation, but for general information purposes. I don't give any actual advice through these videos. But if you are interested in joining our group, go ahead and click the Google Form link below. Other than that, have a great day and we'll speak next time.